So, yeah, I mentioned this in my previous day in the life case manager video, but here's the park, and as y'all see, there's a lot of tents over there. I don't think I gave y'all a good view last time. Yeah, I just wanted to show y'all the visual. I'll talk more about that once I get into the office. Good morning. What's up, y'all? Welcome back if you are returning. If you're new here, my name is Chrissy, and today we are getting into a day in the life of a case manager. So I wrote down a list so that I don't get sidetracked, y'all, because I've done a few of these videos in the past, and a few people have asked me questions, so I definitely want to address those questions in this video. But first things first, I want to give y'all a rundown of what we're doing today. So today is Tuesday, July 19th, and today on our to-do list we have an initial assessment. The initial assessment is the intake for individuals who are brand new to the program and have just been recently assigned to a case manager. That conversation usually lasts about 30 minutes to an hour, and it just helps us to better understand exactly what the client needs. I also need to do my case notes, so every month basically they want us to make sure that we have case notes for the previous month. I like to do mine periodically throughout the month so that it's not one whole month of case notes for 15 clients. I also have a few clients to call. I have one client who needs a bed delivered. It looks like they've been trying to contact him, but he hasn't responded, so I need to call him this morning and let him know that the people are trying to contact him to deliver his bed. I just need to follow up on some little tasks, like mostly through email. I have another client who is interested in getting a phone, so I need to follow up on that to see what's the status on his free phone. They shouldn't be too hectic. I think the most taxing thing I'm gonna have to do today is the initial assessment, and that is at 10 o'clock. So it's 8:21. I like to schedule my assessments for earlier in the day just because, you know, as the day wears on, you kind of get less and less motivated to, do big tasks. I personally like to knock those out in the beginning of the day. So yeah, I'm about to prepare for this assessment. On the eligibility paperwork, there is a lot of information that we would also use or need during the initial assessment. So what I do is I read over the eligibility paperwork first, and then I fill in anything that is applicable to this assessment, just so that I'm not being redundant and asking the clients the same questions. Come to find that clients sometimes can get very irritated by being questioned. And so I like to just kind of keep that at a minimum and, you know, like I said, streamline the process. But y'all, I wanted to mention that on my way here, I drove by a park. I noticed that there were so many tents out there today. I used to do outreach over there at that park when I was at my previous job, and there are always a lot of tents out there in the summertime. That's typical because folks usually decide to stay outside in the summer as opposed to staying in shelter or, you know, couch surfing, which means staying with a friend or family. So I'm used to seeing a lot of tents out there, but it just seems like there's more than usual. That just reminded me of this video that I watched. It was either on YouTube or I might have been listening to a podcast about the housing shortage in America. And they said that there's like a shortage of 12 million houses. As far as the demand meeting the supply, there's like a 12 million house shortage. I don't remember if that's the exact number, so don't quote me, but I know for sure the number was in the millions. And driving by that encampment just really put all of that into perspective as far as like the housing shortage. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad. And of course, when the supply doesn't meet the demand, that's what raises the prices. And so that's what's going on right now. And of course, you know, in the city, that's usually where the housing problem is the worst. So yeah, you can definitely see it when you come to DC for sure. Yes, that's why I was calling you. 6 and 8 this evening? Okay, perfect. Yeah, my supervisor emailed me this morning saying that they were trying to get in contact with you, so that's why I was calling you. So when did you speak with them? You spoke with them yesterday? Okay, all right, cool. I will let her know. Right, exactly. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you spoke with them and that everything is scheduled and good to go. Right, right. I got you. Of course, of course. I'm glad to help. How's it been going since you moved in? You like your new place? Yeah. Is it taking you a minute to adjust to it? Yeah, that might take some time. Cause you're living alone. Like you were living with other people, right? And now you're living alone. So yeah, I can see why that would take some adjusting. Well, let me know if you need anything else. Of course, of course. I will talk to you later. Let me know when y'all schedule the bed delivery, if you don't mind. Okay. All right, perfect. All right. Well, take care. Talk to you later. Okay. Bye-bye. I kind of wish I had a stand-up desk here because I really don't like sitting down all day. It makes me feel tight. It makes me feel lazy. I just don't like it. But anyway, that's why I'm standing up. Just spoke to my client about the bed delivery. So he said that he spoke with the people yesterday, and they're going to call him today between 6 to 8 to schedule the delivery for tomorrow. So perfect. I'm going to let my supervisor know. She did email me saying that they were trying to get in contact with him, so I'm going to just let her know. So y'all, everybody has a part of their job that they do not like, but that you have to do because it's part of your job. Initial assessments are definitely that for me. I despise them. I despise this. I just don't like being on the phone for an hour. It's just not my thing. Wouldn't recommend. But we have about 5 minutes. I'll have to hop on the phone and the client texts me talking about some grand rising. Y'all. So it's funny though, because I was so eager to come into the office today that I did not sleep last night. I went to sleep at 3 o'clock, maybe closer to 4. So I was just like, ooh, I get to vlog tomorrow in the office by myself. Like, da-da-da-da, should be fun. But now I'm tired and have to be on the phone for an hour. It's 9:58, so let's do the dang thing. I have one earphone in this ear. Hey, good morning. Good morning. How are you doing today? Good, good. I'm glad to hear that. Got you. Let me see. So I'm just pulling up the assessment now. And some of this stuff might be similar to the conversation that you had with the eligibility staff, but I'm going to try to keep it as less redundant as possible. So, okay, cool. Let's hop right on in. So we're going to start with your budget. Do you have a phone bill? Okay, how much do you pay for your phone? Okay, so I muted the phone, but this client has a fiduciary, so he's about to get his fiduciary on the line so that we can go through his budget because he's not privy to, the amount of his expenses. Yes, I'm here. We were just calling you because there's a section in the initial assessment where we have to fill out a budget. He was saying that you kind of handle his finances, so I just wanted to talk to you briefly. Okay, so to your understanding, does he pay anything for like medication every month? Okay, what about laundry? Okay, so it is 11:33. That assessment took about an hour, and then I just talked to the veteran's mother as well, and she just gave me some more background information about him and stuff like that. So I'm about to go ahead and call his case manager. So I'm about to call his case manager to talk to her more about, whether or not she has a housing plan for him, because I don't want to move forward with our own, housing plan without consulting with her, because is also one of his case managers. So it's just best practice to contact people involved in the client's case before you make any solid decisions, just to make sure that we're all coordinating efforts. Y'all, the veteran and his mom, they are so sweet and they're so funny. Like, them two together, they're dynamic. They were going back and forth with each other. And then I was on the phone with him. We were talking about the difference between abysmal and dismal. It was funny. Hey, good morning. This is Christina. I think I'm gonna catch up with y'all a little later today. I'm waiting on hold right now. I'll put it on mute. And when I do catch up, we're gonna get into the questions that y'all asked me, because I'm about to go on break in a few. It's 11:38. I'm taking my break early today because I just feel like I need it. Okay, so a few people who watched these videos previously asked a question regarding client case manager interactions, basically. So kind of like how to interact with clients. I would say just to be as honest as possible and to be your genuine, authentic self, which is very cliche, but I mean, you know, that's just the way of the world. You should always be yourself, be who you are. But also, in addition to that, be completely honest. I'm not saying, you know, who you are is not honest, but just on top of that, be honest. Don't ever promise a client something that you're not 100%, 100,000% sure that it can be accomplished. Don't ever promise a client, because they will hold that above your head. If what you said does not come to fruition, then it's going to be a problem. So definitely be honest. If you don't know the answer, say, hey, I don't know the answer right now. Let me get back to you. Plain as that. Don't make up anything. They are a fellow human. Don't like overanalyze the situation. You're just having a conversation with somebody who you are supporting, you know, and vice versa. You can always learn something from them as well. So you have to keep that in mind too, because you don't want to ever get like superiority complex or anything like that. Additionally, when you're interacting with clients, just keep in mind that oftentimes they already feel some type of way about their situation, the fact that they're experiencing homelessness, or, you know, whatever it is, whatever reason why they need a case manager. Oftentimes they do feel like some stigma around that. So whatever you do, like, you don't have to directly address it. If you want to, you can, but just be welcoming. Oftentimes people just are not welcoming. And that is why sometimes clients are a little abrasive when they first meet you, because it's like, well, the system has taught me that people don't really treat me as... My camera overheated again. It's literally 70 something degrees in this car and the camera keeps overheating. But anyway, so the client already probably feels, you know, stigmatized. Please don't be the case manager who furthers that feeling of being stigmatized. Just be nice, be kind. It's really that simple. You don't got to be all uptight. Just relax. I know, you know, when you're entering into a new situation, you can feel nervous, and so that kind of makes you be more guarded. But over time, you'll learn that it's not, you don't have to be uptight or like dead serious. Make jokes with them, like just have a conversation. You don't really get to know them. So yeah, that's that for advice as far as how to interact with the clients. And then I also wanted to talk to y'all about some questions that you can ask your employer on your interview. So I'll just list them, not in any type of priority. Billable notes. So billable notes, if you don't know, is basically when you have to keep track of everything that you've done with the clients. And my camera is about to cut off again. So what I mean when I say billable notes, during your day, you would basically be keeping track of everything that you do with clients or for clients. So let's say that you have to take a client to a grocery store. That is something that you could bill for, which means that you are writing a note, you're writing a case note that lists everything that you did with the client or did for the client that day. The reasons why it's called billable is because if you're in a program that's funded by insurance, then they are going to require billable notes most of the time. They want to make sure that whatever they're paying you for is actually being done. Like, they want to keep track of what you're doing because they're the ones who are paying for your salary, or they're paying for that program. That's why it's termed billable notes. There's also only certain things that can be billable. So let's say that you're driving on your way to meet the client. That's not considered something that's billable. So if the drive is 30 minutes, you can't bill that. You can only bill the time that you're actually physically with the client or doing something for the client. So if you were on the phone with the client when you were on your way to meet them, or if you were on the phone with one of the client's case managers or something like that while you were on the way to meet the client, then you could bill for that. But you can't just because you're driving to meet the client, you can't bill for that. And that's just my experience. I don't know if it's you know, different type of billing requirements at different places. I'm sure there is, but that's my experience. So when it comes to billable notes, those can be really hard to maintain or obtain because typically, like, the requirement varies. At my last job, the requirement was like 4.5 hours, which was absolutely insane. And oftentimes, if you talk to another case manager, social worker who has billable notes as a requirement, oftentimes you'll hear them say, like, it's so difficult for me to meet the requirement, or I'm flat out just not meeting it. So when you're on an interview for a case management position, I would definitely recommend that you ask whether or not billable notes is a requirement. Because if it is, just know, you know, that's just something to really note. The billable note requirement can sometimes be difficult to meet. And if that's a requirement for your job, then obviously you need to meet that requirement. So yes, that's one thing. And y'all are overheating again, so let me put y'all down for a second. And I want to break that down a little bit more, because if you've never heard of billable notes, then I think this part might be useful. So let's say, for example, that you have to meet with 3 clients in one day, right? One of those clients needs to go to the Social Security office to apply for Social Security benefits. The other client needs to be taken to a medical appointment, and the third client just needs to sign some paperwork. So let's say for the first client, you're with them for 2 hours, the Social Security office. The entire time that you're at the Social Security office, you can count that as billable time. And if you're actually picking the client up and, you know, having them ride in your car, then you can also count that time as billable because they're actually with you. Let's say for the second client, you met with them for 30 minutes to an hour just because, you know, you dropped them off at the appointment, you waited there for them to finish and then took them back to their house. So let's say that took in total like 30 minutes to an hour. It was a quick appointment. And then you had the final client who you just needed to sign some paperwork, and that only took like 15 minutes in total. So in total, how many hours is that? It's 2, maybe 3.5 hours. You're close to meeting your requirement, but you haven't met it. So that's just an example of like what your day might look like and how you could really be aiming to meet the requirement, but you're just not meeting because you just don't have the workload or the capacity, whatever the case, to meet that requirement. Additionally, if you have clients who are light touch, which means that they don't really need a lot of case management assistance because they're pretty independent, then it's going to be really hard to be in a position where you have to do billable notes because oftentimes you're not going to be meeting with the clients for a long time. I have a lot of clients who have SMI, severe mental illness, then it might be easier to get the billable note requirement. So that's just something to keep in mind. If y'all have any questions about that, please leave them below. Definitely open to answering any other questions. Okay, another question that you could ask is how many clients will I have on my caseload? Because of course, if you're a case manager, that means that you're going to have a caseload. With my previous job, I had a caseload of, it was a lot of clients. It was maybe like 50 clients, and I was doing outreach. Of course, I didn't maintain contact with my entire caseload like every day, but throughout the month, I would usually try to contact everybody on my caseload, or they would contact me. Some folks did have SMI, and then others were, you know, really light touch, so I didn't have to do much with them. So that's just a really good question to ask, is how many people can I expect to have on my caseload? Now with this job, I have anywhere from like 10 to 20 clients. Having 20 clients at this job is very, very hectic. Right now, I have a caseload of 14, so it's kind of like in the middle ground. I always have work to do. Don't really have a lot of downtime per se. But with 20 clients, it's like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And during the pandemic, we had that amount of clients. So yeah, it was really rough. But another question that you could ask is, are home visits required? In some case management jobs, you have to actually visit the client's home. It could be because you want to do a welfare check, because that's just a program requirement, making sure that, you know, the client is actually living in the home. Sometimes the client will say that they're living there and is not living there. You want to make sure the client doesn't have squatters in their home, which means that they have opened their home to other people, and those people have pretty much taken over the home, which you see a lot in the homeless population. And this is a really good question to ask, especially if you're a woman, because it can be a little dangerous going to other people's homes. Yeah, just the fact that you're going into somebody else's home who is not like your friend or family, that does have an element of danger there. So definitely ask that question. I know I did, because I did not want to do it. Another thing you could ask, just building upon that, is whether or not you would have to transport clients in your own car, because typically with case management jobs, that's what you're doing. You're taking the client to and from wherever they have to go in your own vehicle. Sometimes jobs will even say like you have to have a car, depending upon, I guess, the state, the company that you work for, they might have company vehicles, but if not, then you would be expected to drive people around in your own car. Another question you could ask is, do we work with singles or families, or both? Which means, do I work with people who are single adults? Do I work with youth? That's another thing to put in there. Are we going to be working with youth? Are we going to be working with families? Because each system has different resources. There's singles resources, there's family resources, and there's youth resources. At least that's how it is in DC. Again, I can't speak to other states, but in DC, there's different resources for each, you know, type of situation. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. If that's not already listed in the job description, is to ask, what can I expect my caseload to be composed of? Mostly singles, mostly adults, mostly youth, mostly family. Yeah, those are the questions that I wrote down. I'm sure that there's many more. If there are any questions that I did not address in this video, I will be doing more. So feel free to ask me any other questions that you might have, and I will make sure to address those in the next video. Somebody also asked me about examples of case notes. I can't provide my own case notes, but you can just Google how to write case management notes. You could also type in SIRP, which stands for, well, I forget what it stands for, but it's called SIRP case notes. For my last job, I had to write in the SIRP format, which is for billable notes, but there are different formats when it comes to billable notes. Typically, there is a format, though, that you have to follow for billable notes. With this job, because our notes aren't billable, I just write down, you know, a paragraph, a few sentences, and call it a day. So, yes. I'm going to catch y'all back in the office because my camera has overheated several times and I am just over it, irritated, but I finished this segment, so I'm glad about that. So yes, y'all, if you have any more questions about anything I mentioned or anything additional, please let me know and I will make sure to address it. All right, I'm gonna see y'all back in the office. Oh, I forgot I had a LaCroix too in the fridge. I'm about to go get that. Hello, this is Christina speaking. Yes, hey. Recently added to my caseload, maybe like a few weeks ago. And he just told me that he's also connected to this program as well. So that's 2 programs that he's connected to. So I just wanted to, talk to you about that, figure out which program he'll stay in, because to my understanding, he can't be connected to 2 programs.
He was looking for assistance for like security deposit to get moved into a new place. So I don't know if...
Yeah, I really hope this vlog is not boring, or this video is not boring. Because I feel like I've just been in the office talking to y'all all day, but I've been trying to, you know what I'm saying, spazazz it up. But anyway, also I just spoke to one of my clients' case managers, because he's enrolled in 2 of the same programs right now, and you can't do that. So we just talked about it to see which program he's going to stay in. I need to follow up with my supervisor, ask her a question about the financial assistance that we can provide in certain counties. And then depending upon what she says, we'll determine whether or not he stays enrolled in this program or in the other one. So I'm about to email her right now. I'm going to title it Question About Enrollment. And I'm going to say, good afternoon. I'm contacting you regarding insert client name. I just spoke with his case manager at insert name of company. They service Calvert County. I can't remember the other county she said that they service. They service Calvert County and 2 others. And veteran has expressed wanting to live in the counties they service. He also has applied for a voucher opportunity in that area. We are trying to determine which program he should remain enrolled with. He should remain enrolled in. I know you're not supposed to end a sentence with in, but whatever. I might have to change it around. But okay. We are trying to determine which program he should maintain. We are trying to determine which program he should stay enrolled. Would we be able to provide security deposit assistance to if he receives a voucher in, I don't remember the name of the counties. Dang. Maybe I'll Google it real quick so I don't sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. Which counties do y'all service? Which counties do y'all service? Okay, so I was able to find the name of the counties on Google. I'm gonna list all the counties so I can sound like I really know what I'm talking about. Okay. Whoa. Today was a day. Chill. The fact that it's 4:09 and I'm just getting in my car is just not sitting with me right, because I got up at 4 o'clock. Okay, 4 o'clock. Especially on days when I just feel stressed, overworked, tired, overwhelmed. I get off at 4 o'clock on the dot. Today is one of those days. Is this my turn? It sure is. So y'all, today was one of those really busy days. I think I told y'all that I really didn't get any sleep last night. I slept for like 3 hours. So the fact that I stayed busy today was good because I was able to stay awake. What's bad about it is that when I'm super busy with multitasking, it just makes me feel very overwhelmed. Like my thoughts are moving a mile a minute. Oftentimes you're required to multitask or to be able to juggle several responsibilities at one time. So not complaining about that. It's just something to consider. You will definitely have to multitask, without a question. You have to be able to stay on top of a lot of deadlines at one time. Whether it's a recertification that's due, financial assistance packet, there's always deadline. And again, I'm speaking specifically to my experience of being in homeless services. It might be different for your specific thing, but I still think that this could apply in some ways. And so I brought y'all through most of the day. There might have been a few things here and there that I just didn't pick up the camera for, but I really wanted to make this a very comprehensive, like real reality check type of look at life as a case manager. And another thing, if you are really considering case management, keep in mind that interpersonal communication that makes up majority of this job, because you're always dealing with clients, you're always dealing with case managers. So you're going to be on the phone pretty consistently, you're going to be sending emails, It's not really like, groups. I know some people like talking in groups. So yeah, it's more so like one-on-one conversation. Also with case management, oftentimes you will be expected to work alone or with little supervision. I hate when people do this. They double park in the middle of this is the reality, y'all. This is driving in DC is a part of case management because it's my commute. If you're new to DC, because I just moved here too around like 6-7 years ago. Is it 8 years at this point? I don't know, 2014. You're like just graduating university and you're planning to like move to DC or whatever. Keep in mind that there's no parking. So basically that means you got to finesse your way through life when it comes to parking. You just got to finesse. Just figure out whatever you can. If you don't like driving, just take the metro. I prefer to drive. Y'all, here's another encampment. Remember I was telling y'all about the encampments earlier? Here's another one right here. I think I need to get over. And if I may backtrack for a second, when I was in the office, my supervisor called me and basically a situation arose to where I had to, handle that, another deadline type of situation. That was about an hour before I left. So that's why I had to stay a little later than usual, because I had to tie that up. And I actually didn't even send in my report for the day because I'm quite sure once I get back to the house, I'm gonna have to handle something else regarding the situation. So yeah. And lastly, y'all, I'm gonna pretty much just leave y'all with this, and that is that if you're interested in case management, that's probably because you have a heart for people or you enjoy supporting others through their journey. So if that's the case, wonderful, because you're definitely going to need that on top of discipline, determination, all of that, because it's a very rigorous, demanding, emotionally taxing, mentally taxing job at times. At other times, it's extremely rewarding. I feel like you have to really be built for case management. Just like teachers, you can't just halfway yourself through teaching. There's no way. It requires so much of you. And I feel like I can say the same for case management, because, and not comparing the two. I've never been a teacher, can't speak to that experience, but I do know that it demands a lot of you. So similar to case management, it requires a lot. That is where we are, y'all. I think I'm gonna go ahead and close this vlog out. Like I said, please leave any comments, suggestions, questions that you might have for me, because I would definitely love to help in whatever way I can, especially if you are trying to decide if you want to enter into case management, or if you have decided and you're actively pursuing case management.